The Galactic Concordance Station hung in the darkness of space like a giant metal flower. Its arms stretched out in all directions, each one hosting different alien species who had come to talk about peace and trade. Humans had only been part of this galactic community for 20 years, and they were still the newcomers, still trying to prove they belonged. Hyunwoo Kang stood at his post near the main reception hall, watching the crowd of aliens move through the space. He wore the dark blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic security force, and his job was simple: keep the ambassadors safe and watch for trouble. He was good at his job because he knew how to stay calm and observe everything around him. The reception hall was huge, with ceilings so high they disappeared into shadows. Aliens of every shape and size filled the room. Some walked on 2 legs like humans, others on 4 or 6. Some floated in the air using technology Hyunwoo did not understand. The air was filled with sounds, strange languages mixing together, the hum of translation devices, and music from a dozen different worlds. Tonight was special. The Kavrosian Empire had sent their delegation to negotiate a treaty. The Kavrosians were famous throughout the galaxy as the greatest warriors anyone had ever seen. They were massive creatures, standing over 7 feet tall, with 4 powerful arms and skin that looked like natural armor. Their homeworld had made them into perfect predators, and they had built an empire on their strength. Hyunwoo watched as the Kavrosian delegation entered the hall. They moved with confidence that bordered on arrogance. Other aliens moved aside to let them pass. At the front of the group walked their leader, a female warrior named Varieth. She was impressive even among her own kind, with dark purple skin marked by white battle scars that told stories of countless fights. "They look scary," whispered Jiwoo Park, standing beside Hyunwoo. She was the ambassador's aide and had become Hyunwoo's friend during their time on the station. "They are scary," Hyunwoo replied quietly. "But so is a tiger. You just need to respect it and understand it." Jiwoo smiled nervously. "I hope you are right." The evening went smoothly at first. The ambassadors talked, glasses were raised in toasts, and the translator devices worked overtime. Hyunwoo stayed alert but relaxed. He had learned in his military days that tension made you slow, calmness made you ready. Then Varieth approached him. She was even bigger up close. Her 4 arms hung at her sides, each one thick with muscle. Her eyes were golden and sharp, the eyes of a hunter. She looked down at Hyunwoo, studying him like a scientist might study an interesting insect. "You are human," she said. Her voice was deep and carried power. The translator device on her chest turned her words into Korean, but Hyunwoo heard the original rumble underneath. "Yes," Hyunwoo replied simply. "You are a warrior?" Varieth asked, her eyes moving over his uniform and posture. "I was a soldier once. Now I protect diplomats." Varieth made a sound that might have been a laugh. "I have heard stories about your people. You defeated the Relnari pirates last year. They had ships and weapons better than yours, but you won." "We did," Hyunwoo confirmed. He wondered where this was going. "How did weak creatures like humans defeat the Relnari?" Varieth asked. The question was loud enough that nearby aliens turned to listen. "Humans are small. You have only 2 arms. Your skin is soft. Your strength is nothing compared to true warriors." The room was getting quiet now. More aliens stopped their conversations to watch. Jiwoo touched Hyunwoo's arm, a warning to be careful. Hyunwoo understood. This was a test, maybe even a trap. "We won because we fought smart," Hyunwoo said calmly. "We used what we had." "Smart." Varieth repeated the word like it tasted bad. "Among my people, strength is everything. A warrior proves their worth in combat, not with tricks and schemes. Your species hides behind technology and calls it victory." The insult was clear now. Other aliens whispered among themselves. the human ambassador. An older man named Richards started moving toward them, but he was too far away to intervene quickly. Hyunwoo kept his face neutral. Getting angry would accomplish nothing. Every species fights in the way that suits them best. That is not weakness. That is intelligence. Varith's 4 arms crossed over her chest in a complex gesture. Then prove it, human. I challenge you to a duel. 3 rounds over 3 days, testing all aspects of what makes a true warrior. If you win, I will acknowledge that humans deserve respect. If you lose... She paused. When you lose, your people will understand their place in the galaxy. The room went completely silent. Hyunwoo's mind raced. This was a diplomatic nightmare. If he refused, humanity would look weak. The Kavrosians would use this moment for years to come. Pointing to the human who was too scared to fight. Other species might lose respect for Earth. The treaty negotiations could fail. But if he accepted, he might die. The Kavrosians were famous for their duels. No non-Kavrosian had ever won one. Most did not even survive them. Ambassador Richards finally pushed through the crowd. This is highly irregular, he started to say, but Varith ignored him, her golden eyes locked on Hyunwoo. Do you accept, human warrior? Or will you prove my words true by running away? Hyunwoo thought about his training. He thought about all the other humans who would be judged by his choice. He thought about the young people back on Earth who looked at the stars and dreamed of being part of something bigger. If he ran now, what message would that send? I accept your challenge, Hyunwoo said. His voice was steady. A ripple of shocked whispers ran through the crowd. Jiwoo grabbed his arm tighter. Hyunwoo, no! She whispered urgently, but it was done. Varith showed her teeth in what might have been a smile or a threat. Good. The first round begins tomorrow in the ceremonial arena. Pure combat, no weapons. We will see if human courage matches human words. She turned and walked away, her delegation following. The other aliens began talking excitedly, their voices building into a wave of sound. Ambassador Richards pulled Hyunwoo aside. Do you understand what you just agreed to? He demanded. Yes, sir. Kavrosian duels are designed to prove their superiority. They are bigger, stronger, and faster than humans. You cannot win this. Hyunwoo met the ambassador's eyes. Maybe not, sir. But I can show them that humans do not give up. Sometimes that matters more than winning. Richard stared at him for a long moment, then sighed. Get some rest. Tomorrow is going to be the hardest day of your life. As Hyunwoo walked back to his quarters, Jiwoo caught up with him. Why did you do it? She asked. You could have refused. No one would have blamed you. Hyunwoo looked out a nearby window at the stars beyond. Yes, they would have. Maybe not out loud, but they would have. Besides, someone once told me that humanity's greatest strength is not that we never fall down. It is that we always get back up. Who told you that? My grandfather. He lived through hard times. He taught me that survival is not about being the strongest. It is about refusing to quit. Jiwoo walked beside him in silence for a while. Finally, she said, I will be there tomorrow, watching. Thank you. And Hyunwoo, make us proud. He smiled, though he did not feel much like smiling. I will try. That night, Hyunwoo did not sleep well. He knew what was coming. Pain, probably a lot of it. Maybe defeat. But he also knew something Varith did not know yet. Humans had spent millions of years learning how to survive against stronger predators. They had hunted animals bigger and faster than themselves. They had survived ice ages and plagues and wars. They were still here because they never stopped trying. Tomorrow he would show Varith what that meant. Tomorrow the real fight would begin. The ceremonial arena was an ancient place. The Galactic Concordance had built it centuries ago for exactly this kind of event. The floor was made of smooth stone that had seen blood from 100 different species. Seats rose up in circles around the fighting space, and already they were filled with aliens who had come to watch. Hyunwoo stood in the preparation room, wearing simple combat clothes. No armor, no weapons, just flexible fabric that would let him move. A human doctor named Tae-min Lee was checking him over one last time. "Your heart rate is elevated but steady," Tae-min said, looking at his medical scanner. "How do you feel?" "Scared," Hyunwoo admitted. There was no point in lying. Tae-min nodded. "That is normal. Fear keeps you alive. Just remember, I will be watching every moment. If your vital signs get too dangerous, I will stop the fight." "No," Hyunwoo said firmly. "If you stop it, everyone will say humans are too weak to finish what they start. Let me fight until I cannot fight anymore." Tae-min frowned, but did not argue. He had been a military doctor before coming to the station. He understood what was at stake. The door opened and Ji-woo entered. She looked worried but forced a smile. "The arena is packed. I think every species on the station came to watch." "Great," Hyunwoo said. "No pressure. Ambassador Richards wants you to know that you can still back out. He will handle the diplomatic consequences." Hyunwoo shook his head. "We are past that point now. Tell the ambassador I appreciate the offer, but I am seeing this through." A tone sounded through the room. It was time. Hyunwoo walked down the corridor toward the arena. With each step, the sound of the crowd grew louder. When he emerged into the light, thousands of alien eyes turned to look at him. The noise was incredible, a mix of curious chatter and what might have been cheering or maybe betting. He could not tell. On the other side of the arena, Varieth entered. She wore even less than Hyunwoo, just minimal covering. Her forearms flexed and her muscles rippled under her purple skin. She looked like something carved from stone and brought to life. Next to her stood another Kavrosian, slightly smaller, who Hyunwoo learned was named Kreth. He was Varieth's second, there to ensure the rules were followed. An official walked to the center of the arena. He was a Corinthian, a species known for being neutral and fair. His name was Ambassador Velthar, and his skin was pale blue. "This is a formal Kavrosian honor duel," Velthar announced. His voice amplified across the arena. "The first round will test physical combat. No weapons, no technology. The fight continues until one combatant yields, cannot continue, or 30 minutes pass. If time expires, judges will determine the winner by points." He paused. "Combatants, approach." Hyunwoo walked forward. Varieth did the same. They stopped a few feet apart. "Human," Varieth said quietly so only he could hear. "You still have a chance to surrender. I do not wish to seriously hurt you." "I appreciate that," Hyunwoo replied. "But I am here to fight." Varieth studied him for a moment, then nodded with what might have been respect. "So be it." Velthar raised his hand. "Begin!" Varieth moved fast, faster than Hyunwoo expected. One of her forearms shot out in a strike that would have crushed his ribs if it connected. Hyunwoo dropped and rolled to the side, feeling the wind as her fist passed over him. He came up quickly and backed away, creating distance. Varieth followed, not rushing but moving with the confidence of a predator that knew its prey could not escape. She attacked again, this time with two arms coming from different angles. Hyunwoo blocked one strike, but had to take the other on his shoulder. Pain exploded through him, and he stumbled back. The crowd roared. Varieth pressed her advantage. Her four arms became a blur of strikes, each one powerful enough to break bones. Hyunwoo defended desperately, blocking what he could, dodging what he could not block, and accepting hits when he had no choice. Within 2 minutes, he was already bruised and breathing hard. This was exactly what he had expected. Varieth was stronger, faster, and had twice as many arms. In a straight fight, he would lose quickly and badly, so he could not fight straight. Hyunwoo started moving differently. Instead of backing away, he began circling. Instead of blocking directly, he deflected strikes at angles. Instead of trying to match her strength, he used her momentum against her. When she pushed, he pulled. When she pulled, he slipped aside. Varith was strong and fast, but she fought the way her people had always fought, with overwhelming power and aggression. It was a style built for quick victories against opponents who would break under pressure. But Hyunwoo had trained in different ways. His grandfather had taught him an old Korean martial art that focused on using an opponent's strength against them. His military training had added more techniques. Most importantly, he had learned patience. 10 minutes passed. Varith was barely breathing hard. Hyunwoo was sweating and in pain, but he was still standing, still moving, still fighting, and that was beginning to frustrate the Kavrosian warrior. "Stand still and fight!" Varith demanded. Hyunwoo did not answer. He saved his breath for fighting. He watched her carefully, learning her patterns. Every fighter had patterns, rhythms they fell into without thinking. Even the best warriors had habits. Varith attacked high with 2 arms. Hyunwoo ducked. She expected that and brought her lower 2 arms in for a crushing grab. But Hyunwoo had seen this combination twice before. At the last moment, he dropped completely flat, and Varith's arms closed on empty air. For just a second, she was off balance. Hyunwoo moved. He had been watching for this moment. He swept his leg hard against the back of her knee, the one joint that bent the same way on both humans and Kavrosians. At the same time, he struck with his palm against a spot on her side where he had noticed her flinch slightly in an earlier exchange. Varith's leg buckled and she stumbled. The strike to her side made her gasp. It was not enough to knock her down, but for the first time in the fight, she looked surprised. The crowd noise changed. Before they had been cheering for the obvious winner. Now there was uncertainty in their voices. Varith recovered quickly and her eyes narrowed. "Interesting," she said. The fight continued. Hyunwoo was getting tired, and the hits he could not avoid were adding up. Blood dripped from a cut above his eye. His left arm was going numb from blocking. But he kept moving, kept adapting, kept learning. 20 minutes. Varith was breathing harder now. Not tired exactly, but working harder than she expected. Hyunwoo had landed several more strikes to that spot on her side, and now she protected it unconsciously. That told him it was a weak point, maybe where the nerve clusters were located on Kavrosians. 25 minutes. Hyunwoo could barely see from the blood and sweat in his eyes. Every breath hurt, but he was still standing, still fighting, and more importantly, still learning. Varith came at him again, frustrated now. Her attacks were getting wilder, less controlled. Hyunwoo waited for his moment. When she overextended with a powerful strike, he moved inside her reach, too close for her long arms to be effective. He struck that nerve spot 3 times, fast and hard. Varith made a sound of pain and shoved him away with all 4 arms. Hyunwoo flew backward and hit the ground hard, the air knocked out of his lungs. The 30-minute tone sounded. The fight was over. Hyunwoo lay on the ground trying to breathe. Everything hurt. He heard Velthar's voice announcing something but could not make out the words. Then Taemin was beside him, scanner out, checking him over. "You are a fool," Taemin said, but he was smiling. "Did I lose?" Hyunwoo managed to ask. "Yes, but not by much. The judges gave the round to Varith on points, but it was closer than any non-Kavrosian has ever come." Jiwoo appeared on his other side, helping him sit up. "You did not yield," she said, and her eyes were wet with tears. "Everyone thought you would give up in the first 5 minutes. But you lasted the whole time." Hyunwoo looked across the arena. Varith was standing with Kreth, who was talking to her urgently. She was looking at Hyunwoo with an expression he could not read. "She is confused," Jiwoo said, following his gaze. Cavrosians expect quick victories. They have never seen someone keep fighting the way you did. Good, Hyunwoo said, wincing as Tai Min sealed the cut above his eye. Let her be confused. Round 2 is tomorrow. She will be thinking about this all night. Can you even fight tomorrow? Tai Min asked. You took serious hits today. I will fight, Hyunwoo said. That is what humans do. We keep fighting. As they helped him out of the arena, the crowd was still talking excitedly. Hyunwoo had lost the round, but somehow it felt different from defeat. He had survived. He had adapted. He had made a warrior like Varieth work hard for her victory. And tomorrow was another day. Hyunwoo spent the night in the medical bay. His body ached from dozens of bruises, and Taemin had to use advanced healing technology to repair damaged muscles and seal internal bleeding. By morning, Hyunwoo looked better than he felt, which was the point. He needed to appear ready for round 2. The second round was different from the first. Instead of the physical arena, the combatants would enter a tactical simulation chamber. It was a test of strategic thinking and command ability. Each fighter would control virtual military forces, and the goal was simple: defeat your opponent's army. Jiwoo brought Hyunwoo breakfast in his room. Da-eun Choi is on standby, she said. Da-eun was a human tactical specialist who worked with the military. She cannot help you during the fight, but she studied Cavrosian military tactics last night. She sent you this file. Hyunwoo took the data tablet and read quickly. Cavrosian military doctrine was straightforward. They believed in overwhelming force applied directly at the enemy. They valued individual warrior skill above coordination. They considered indirect attacks to be dishonorable. Their generals were always the strongest fighters, not necessarily the smartest planners. This is useful, Hyunwoo said. She also included historical battles where smaller human forces defeated larger enemies, Jiwoo added. She thought they might give you ideas. Hyunwoo smiled despite his pain. Da-eun is smart. Thank her for me. The simulation chamber was located in a different part of the station. When Hyunwoo arrived, Varieth was already there. She looked at him with an expression that might have been surprise. You can still walk, she observed. Disappointed? Hyunwoo asked. No, impressed. I have fought many species. Most would still be in medical care after yesterday. She paused. You fought well, longer than I expected. Thank you. You hit hard. Varieth made a sound that might have been a laugh. Today will be different. Today we test minds, not bodies. In this I believe I will show you true superiority. Ambassador Velthar entered and explained the rules. Each combatant would command a force of 1,000 virtual soldiers. The battlefield was a random terrain that neither would see until the simulation began. The fight would last until one army was destroyed or one commander surrendered. All kills were simulated. No actual beings would be harmed. This is not a game of chance, Velthar said. The simulation uses real physics and real tactical principles. How you command your forces will determine victory or defeat. Are you ready? Both fighters nodded. They were led to separate command pods, enclosed spaces with holographic displays. Hyunwoo settled into his pod and the display came to life. He saw a three-dimensional map of the battlefield materialize before him. The terrain was rough, hills, valleys, a river cutting through the middle, and forests scattered throughout. His forces appeared as blue markers on the map. 1,000 soldiers divided into companies of 50. He had basic infantry, some with heavy weapons, and a few light vehicles. Standard military setup. Across the map, red markers showed Varieth's forces. Same numbers. Same composition. Fair fight. The simulation timer started counting down. 5 minutes to plan before the battle began. Hyunwoo used every second. He studied the terrain carefully. The river was wide enough that crossing it would leave his forces vulnerable. The hills provided good defensive positions. The forests would hide troop movements. He thought about what Daun had sent him. Kavrosian tactics favored direct assault and overwhelming force. Hyunwoo made his plan. The timer hit 0, and the battle began. Varith's approach was exactly what he expected. She formed her entire army into one massive group and began marching straight toward his position. It was intimidating to watch 1,000 soldiers moving as one disciplined unit. The Kavrosian way. Hit hard, hit fast, crush the enemy through superior force. Hyunwoo divided his forces into smaller groups. He sent a company to hold a hill position on his left flank. Another company went into the forest on his right. A third company positioned themselves near the river ford, the only easy crossing point. The rest of his forces spread out in smaller units throughout the terrain. Varith's army reached the river and began crossing at the ford. Hyunwoo's company there opened fire, then immediately retreated. Varith's forces pursued exactly as he hoped. They were getting spread out now, their tight formation breaking as they moved through difficult terrain. Hyunwoo's hidden units in the forest attacked Varith's flank. Not a full assault, just quick strikes before falling back. Varith redirected part of her army to deal with them, splitting her forces further. The battle became chaotic. Varith was used to commanding in a straightforward way, where superior numbers and warrior skill won the day. But Hyunwoo was not fighting that kind of battle. His units appeared, struck, and vanished. They used the terrain to their advantage. They coordinated attacks from multiple directions. One of Varith's larger groups chased a small human unit into a valley. Hyunwoo had placed forces on the hills above. They rained fire down on the Kavrosian soldiers who were trapped in the killing zone. By the time Varith pulled them back, she had lost 100 soldiers. Hyunwoo was losing troops too, but at a slower rate, and he was controlling where and when the fights happened. He was dictating the pace of the battle. Varith changed tactics. She tried to consolidate her remaining forces and form a defensive position on high ground. It was smart, but Hyunwoo did not attack directly. Instead, he surrounded the position and cut off their supply lines. In the simulation, armies needed ammunition and resources. By controlling the rest of the map, Hyunwoo limited what Varith could do. The Kavrosian warrior tried to break out, launching attacks in different directions to find a weakness. But every time her forces committed to an attack, Hyunwoo's units retreated, drawing them out, then hit them from another direction. Watching from the observation deck, the crowd of aliens grew more and more excited. They had expected Varith to dominate this round as easily as she dominated the physical combat. Instead, they were watching a masterclass in tactical warfare. Inside her command pod, Varith was learning a hard lesson. She was a brilliant warrior, and Kavrosian military commanders were no fools. But her entire culture's approach to warfare was built on a foundation of physical superiority. When you were bigger and stronger than your enemies, direct assault worked perfectly. Humans had never been the biggest or strongest. They had survived by being clever, by adapting, by finding ways to win against tougher opponents. Millions of years of being prey animals had taught them to think creatively about survival. The simulation continued. Varith was down to 400 soldiers. Hyunwoo had 600. The momentum had completely shifted. Varith tried a desperate all-out assault, throwing everything at Hyunwoo's main position. It was brave and bold, very Kavrosian in spirit. Hyunwoo saw it coming. He pulled his forces back from the main position, making it look like a retreat. Varith's army charged forward, sensing victory. Then Hyunwoo's hidden units emerged from the forest and hills, surrounding the Kavrosian forces completely. It was a classic pincer movement, the kind of tactic humans had used for thousands of years. The simulation ended. Varith's virtual army was destroyed. Hyunwoo had won. Silence fell over the observation deck. Then slowly, noise began to build. Aliens were talking excitedly, their voices rising in disbelief and amazement. Hyunwoo exited his command pod, exhausted mentally but victorious. Varith emerged from her pod a moment later. She looked stunned. For several long seconds, she just stared at Hyunwoo. "How?" she finally asked. "Your forces were equal to mine. The terrain was random. You should not have been able to—" "To beat you?" Hyunwoo finished. "Your warriors are individually superior to human soldiers. If this had been a straight fight, warrior against warrior, you would have won. But war is not just about individual strength. You used tricks, ambushes, deception." Varith's voice was not angry but confused. "I used tactics," Hyunwoo corrected gently. "My species learned long ago that we could not beat stronger predators in direct combat. So we learned to fight smarter. We learned to cooperate. We learned to use terrain and timing and psychology." Velthar officially announced Hyunwoo as the winner of the second round. It was the first time in recorded history that a non-Kavrosian had won any round of a formal duel. The crowd erupted in noise. Varith stood very still. Kreth approached her, speaking quickly in their language. She waved him away. She was still staring at Hyunwoo. "Among my people, fighting with deception is considered cowardly," she said slowly. "We value direct combat, warrior against warrior. And that works for you because you are stronger than most species," Hyunwoo said. "But what happens when you face an enemy you cannot beat through strength alone? What happens when direct combat is suicide?" Varith had no answer. "My species had a saying," Hyunwoo continued. "The strongest warrior is not always the one who wins. Sometimes the winner is the one who refuses to fight on their enemy's terms." As they left the chamber, Jiwoo hugged Hyunwoo tightly. "You did it. You actually won." "One round," Hyunwoo cautioned. "We are tied now. One win each. Tomorrow's final round will decide everything." But he allowed himself a small smile. He had proven something important today. Not just to Varith and the watching aliens, but to himself. Humanity belonged in the galaxy not because they could match other species in strength or speed or natural weapons. They belonged because they could think, adapt, and find ways to overcome any challenge. That night, Varith sat alone in her quarters, replaying the battle simulation in her mind. She had been so certain of victory. Combat strategy was something every Kavrosian warrior studied. But Hyunwoo had approached the battle from a completely different perspective, using tactics and principles her people had never needed to develop. For the first time in her life, Varith wondered if strength alone was enough. Varith could not sleep. She sat in her quarters aboard the Galactic Concordance Station, staring at a holographic display that showed information about Earth and humanity. After the simulation defeat, something had changed in her. The certainty she had always carried, the absolute belief in Kavrosian superiority, had developed cracks. She had challenged the human to prove him weak. Instead, he had proven her assumptions wrong. Kreth had tried to talk to her after the second round, suggesting that the simulation was flawed or that Hyunwoo had somehow cheated. But Varith had dismissed him. The human had won fairly. That was undeniable. What bothered her was trying to understand how. The display showed files about human history. Varith began reading, her golden eyes moving quickly through the information. What she found surprised her. Humans had not always been the dominant species on their planet. In fact, for most of their evolution, they had been prey. Weak creatures with soft skin, small teeth, and no natural weapons. They should have gone extinct. But they did not. Varith read about something called persistence hunting. Early humans would chase animals for hours, sometimes days, never stopping until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. The animals were faster and stronger, but humans just kept coming. They did not need to be fast if they never gave up. She read about how humans survived ice ages by adapting, creating tools and shelters, and working together. She read about their wars, countless conflicts where they fought each other with increasing sophistication. They learned strategy and tactics because they had to. Every battle taught them something new. There was a phrase that kept appearing in the files: hope against hope. It meant continuing to try even when success seemed impossible. Varith did not have a word for this in her language. Kavrosians fought bravely, but if defeat was certain, they died with honor. The idea of fighting on anyway, of refusing to accept reality, seemed almost irrational, yet it had worked for humans. Again and again, they had faced extinction and survived. They had been weak and made themselves strong through determination and intelligence. Varith stood and paced her quarters. Tomorrow was the third and final round, an endurance challenge. Both combatants would be placed in a hostile environment simulation. The last one standing would win. It was meant to test physical and mental toughness. The Kavrosians had designed this test expecting to dominate it. After all, they were larger, stronger, more durable. What chance did a smaller species have? But now Varith understood something she had not before. The human would not give up. No matter how much pain he felt, no matter how tired he became, Hyunwoo would keep going. It was in his species' nature. It was how they had survived. She pulled up footage from the first round, watching it again. At the 10-minute mark, Hyunwoo had taken a hit that should have ended the fight. Varith had felt the impact of her strike, knew how much damage it caused. Any sensible being would have yielded, but Hyunwoo just kept getting up. At 15 minutes, he was bleeding and obviously in pain. At 20 minutes, he could barely see. At 25 minutes, every movement seemed to hurt him, but he never stopped. He never even slowed down. If anything, he had fought smarter as the battle went on, learning her patterns even while exhausted and injured. Varith made a decision. She accessed the station's data library and began searching for more information about human endurance. What she found was remarkable. Humans could run longer distances than almost any other Earth creature. Their bodies were designed for it, with special adaptations for cooling and energy management. They had won wars not through single battles, but through long campaigns that exhausted their enemies. They had crossed oceans and climbed mountains and explored frozen wastelands, going where no rational being would go. There was a concept in human military history called second wind. It meant that when the body was completely exhausted and ready to quit, humans could somehow find more energy and keep going. Scientists did not fully understand it, but it was real. Varith had never heard of anything like it among her own people. She read about human psychology, about their ability to endure suffering by focusing on abstract concepts like duty, honor, love, or hope. Kavrosians fought for honor too, but it was personal honor, individual glory. Humans seemed to fight for things beyond themselves, for ideas and other people. It gave them a different kind of strength. Varith realized she had made a fundamental mistake. She had judged humanity by Kavrosian standards, measuring them against what made Kavrosians strong. But strength took many forms. A tree could be strong by being rigid like iron, or strong by being flexible like bamboo. Both were valid. Both survived. A message appeared on her display. Kreth was requesting to speak with her. She accepted the call. "Varith, I have reviewed tomorrow's challenge," Kreth said, his forearms gesturing with concern. "The simulation will be extreme. High heat, limited water, difficult terrain. It is designed to push both of you to your absolute limits." "I know. The human is smaller and lighter than you. He will dehydrate faster. His smaller body cannot handle temperature extremes as well. You should win easily." "Perhaps," Varith said slowly. Kreth looked confused. "You doubt your victory? After the first round, your superiority is clear. The second round was an anomaly, a test that favored his kind of thinking. But endurance, physical resilience, these are our strengths." "Tell me, Kreth, How long can you run before you must stop? I do not understand the question. How long? A Kavrosian warrior in peak condition, running at moderate speed. How long before you physically cannot continue? Kreth thought about it. Perhaps 30 minutes? Maybe 45 at most. Why does this matter? A human can run for hours, days even. Their bodies are built for it. Varith turned from the display. We are sprinters, Kreth. Powerful and fast for short bursts. But humans are marathoners. They keep going long after we would stop. But the challenge is not a race. No, it is a test of who can endure the longest, who can suffer the most, and still continue. Varith's voice was quiet. I think I have underestimated our opponent. Meanwhile, in his quarters, Yunwu was preparing mentally for the next day. His body had healed well enough, though he still felt the effects of the first round. Jiwoo sat with him, reviewing what they knew about the endurance challenge. The environment will be hostile, she said, reading from a datapad. Extreme heat, minimal water, rough terrain. They want to see who breaks first. I won't break, Hyun-woo said simply. How can you be so sure? Hyun-woo smiled. Do you know why my grandfather taught me about endurance? About never giving up? Jiwoo shook her head. He lived through the worst of times on Earth. War, poverty, hunger. He told me that he survived because he never let himself believe it was over. Every morning he would wake up and tell himself, just one more day, and then another day, and another. Until years had passed, and he was still alive. Hyun-woo looked at his hands. My grandfather taught me that humans have a special gift. We can be dying and still find the will to take one more step. We can be in pain and still choose to keep going. It is not rational. It makes no logical sense. But it is real. The Kavrosians are stronger, Jiwoo said softly. Yes, but strength is not just about muscles. It is about the decision to continue when everything tells you to stop. Hyun-woo met her eyes. Tomorrow Varith will be stronger and tougher, but I will still be standing when she falls. Not because I am better, but because I cannot do anything else. Giving up is not in my nature. Jiwoo reached out and squeezed his hand. The whole station will be watching. I know. That is good. Let them see what humanity really is. Not the weapons or ships or technology, just a person who refuses to quit. Maybe that will tell them more about us than any treaty or demonstration. After Jiwoo left, Hyun-woo sat alone in the darkness of his quarters. He thought about his grandfather, about all the humans throughout history who had faced impossible odds. He thought about the Ice Age survivors and the first explorers and the soldiers who held positions against overwhelming enemies. He thought about what it meant to be human. Tomorrow would be hard. Probably the hardest thing he had ever done. His body would scream at him to stop. His mind would beg him to rest. Every instinct would tell him he had done enough, that no one could ask for more. And he would ignore all of it and keep going. Because that was what humans did. That was what made them special in a galaxy full of stronger, faster, more naturally gifted species. They endured. Tomorrow he would show Varith and all the watching aliens what human endurance really meant, not through words or demonstrations or simulations, through action, through refusing to fall down no matter what. The simulation chamber for the third round was larger than the others. It had to be. The environment it would create needed space. When Hyun-woo arrived, he saw Varith already there, and something in her expression had changed. She looked at him differently now, not with the dismissive confidence of before, but with something closer to respect, or maybe concern. Human, she said as he approached. Varith. You do not have to do this. We are tied, 1 round each. We could end the duel here, call it a draw. Both sides would save face. Hyunwoo studied her. Why would you offer that? Because I have learned something about your people in the past 2 days. You do not give up, even when you should. This challenge will push both of us beyond our limits. I am not certain either of us should do this. But you will do it anyway, Hyunwoo said. I must. My honor demands it. Then so must I, for the same reason. Vareth nodded slowly. Then let us finish this. Ambassador Velthar explained the rules. The simulation would create a hostile planet environment. Extreme heat during the day, cold at night. Limited water, difficult terrain. Each combatant would have a small pack with minimal supplies. The challenge would continue until someone activated their emergency beacon, signaling surrender. Or until medical monitors indicated they could not continue. This is the most dangerous round, Velthar warned. The simulation feels completely real to your bodies. Pain, exhaustion, heat, thirst, all of it. Your minds cannot tell the difference. If you push too far, real physical harm can occur. Please, both of you, be careful. They entered their simulation pods. Hyunwoo lay back, and the system connected to his nervous system. The last thing he saw was Tai-min's worried face through the pod's window. Then the simulation began. Heat hit him like a physical wall. Hyunwoo gasped and opened his eyes to find himself standing in a desert. The sun burned overhead, so bright it hurt to look up. Rock and sand stretched in every direction. In the distance, he could see mountains. His small pack contained 1 water bottle, some basic tools, and an emergency beacon. Somewhere in this simulated world, Vareth was experiencing the same thing. Hyunwoo started walking toward the mountains. He did not run. Running would waste energy and water. He fell into a steady pace, the kind of rhythm his body could maintain for hours. His training had taught him how to move efficiently, how to breathe properly, how to ration his energy. Hours passed. The sun crossed the sky slowly. The heat was incredible, draining water from his body with every breath. Hyunwoo sipped from his water bottle carefully. He had to make it last. He kept walking. In the observation room, thousands of aliens watched on split screens showing both combatants. Vareth was also walking, her larger body moving powerfully across the landscape. She looked strong and determined. 6 hours in, both were still moving. The watching aliens began to realize this challenge might last much longer than expected. 10 hours. The sun finally began to set. The temperature dropped rapidly, from burning heat to bitter cold in less than an hour. Hyunwoo wrapped his arms around himself and kept moving. Moving generated warmth. Stopping meant freezing. Vareth was also walking through the night. Her 4 arms were wrapped around her body. Kavrosians were built for warm climates. The cold affected her more than it did Hyunwoo. 15 hours. The sun rose again, bringing heat that was somehow worse than before. Hyunwoo's water was nearly gone. His lips were cracked and bleeding. Every step hurt. His muscles screamed. But he kept walking. He thought about his grandfather, about persistence hunters who chased prey for days, about humans who crossed deserts and ice fields, about the fundamental human trait of just keeping going. 20 hours. Vareth was slowing down. Her body, built for powerful bursts of activity, was not designed for this kind of extended endurance. She was stronger than Hyunwoo, more durable, better able to handle damage. But she could not match his ability to just continue hour after hour after hour. 25 hours. Hyunwoo was in a bad state. His water was completely gone. He was dehydrated, exhausted, in pain. But he was still walking. His mind had entered a strange state where the suffering became almost distant. 1 foot, then the other. Again, forever if necessary. 30 hours. Vareth collapsed. Hyunwoo did not see it happen. He was miles away, still walking like a machine that could not stop. But in the observation room, alarms went off. Varith's medical monitors showed her body was failing. The Kavrosian had pushed herself to the absolute limit and beyond. Kreth shouted for the simulation to be ended, but Velthar stopped him. Only the combatants can end the challenge. If we intervene, she will be dishonored. On the screen, Varith lay on the hot sand, unable to move. Her 4 arms twitched weakly. She tried to reach for her emergency beacon, but could not make her body work. Her physiology, designed for strength and speed, was shutting down. Kavrosians could fight intensely for hours, but not survive for days of constant stress. Then something appeared on the screen, a figure in the distance walking toward Varith's position. Hyun-woo had somehow sensed or seen her fall. Or maybe he had just been walking in that direction by chance. Either way, he was approaching. Hyun-woo saw the large purple body lying motionless in the sand. For a moment, he just stood there, swaying slightly, his own body at the edge of failure. He could activate his beacon, claim victory. The duel would be over and he would have won. Instead, he dropped to his knees beside Varith. His hands shook as he pulled out his water bottle. Empty. He searched through his pack and found a small medical kit. Inside was an emergency hydration packet. He tore it open and managed to get some of the liquid into Varith's mouth. She coughed, her eyes fluttering open. She looked at him with confusion. "Why?" she managed to whisper. Hyun-woo did not answer. He was trying to remember his first aid training. Varith's physiology was different from human, but the basics were the same. Keep her hydrated. Get her temperature down. He used water from the medical kit to wet cloth and placed it on her head and neck. Then he pulled out both emergency beacons, his and hers, and he activated them both. The simulation ended instantly. They were back in the pods, medical teams rushing in. Taemin was shouting orders, scanning both of them. Hyun-woo tried to speak, but could not find the words. His body finally gave up, and he lost consciousness. When Hyun-woo woke, he was in the medical bay. Ji-woo was sitting beside his bed, and when she saw his eyes open, she started crying. "You scared me," she said. "Taemin said you were minutes from complete system failure." "Did I win?" Hyun-woo asked, his voice rough. Ji-woo shook her head. "You activated both beacons at the same time. The judges ruled it a draw. No winner." Hyun-woo closed his eyes. A draw. After everything, it was a draw. He had not proven human superiority. He had not won the respect he fought for. He had simply survived. "But Hyun-woo," Ji-woo said, gripping his hand, "you should see what is happening outside. The whole station is talking about what you did. You could have won. Everyone knows you could have won. You were still conscious, still able to continue. Varith had fallen, but you chose to help her instead." "She would have died if I left her," Hyun-woo said simply. "Exactly. That is what everyone is talking about. Kavrosian culture does not have a concept for what you did. In their duels, you win or you die. There is no middle ground. You showed them something they have never seen before." A noise at the door made them look up. Varith stood there, supported by Kreth. She looked weak but alive. Her golden eyes were fixed on Hyun-woo. "Leave us," she told Kreth and Ji-woo. Both hesitated, then obeyed. Varith moved slowly to Hyun-woo's bed. For a long moment, neither spoke. "You should have won," Varith finally said. "You were still standing. I had fallen. According to the rules, you could have activated your beacon alone and claimed victory." "Yes." "Why did you not? You fought so hard, endured so much. Victory was yours." Hyun-woo looked at her. "Because the duel was supposed to prove something, that humans deserve respect in the galaxy. Letting you die would not have proven that. It would have just proven I could survive longer than you in one specific challenge. But that is how honor works. The strongest survives. The weak fall. Maybe that is how Kavrosian honor works, Hyunwoo said gently. Human honor is different. We believe that true strength includes knowing when to show mercy. We believe that turning an enemy into a friend is better than destroying them. Vareth was quiet for a long time. I challenged you because I believed humans were weak. I was wrong, not because you matched my strength, but because you possess strengths I did not understand existed. She performed a complex gesture with her 4 arms. Hyunwoo did not know what it meant, but it seemed important. I declare this duel finished with honor satisfied on both sides, Vareth said formally. More than that, I declare humans worthy of deep respect, and I will tell my people that humanity has much to teach us about what it means to be strong. Thank you, Hyunwoo said. No, thank you. You taught me that strength comes in many forms. Physical power is one form, but the power to endure, to adapt, to choose mercy even in victory, these are also strength. Perhaps even greater strength. Over the next days, as both recovered, the story of the duel spread throughout the station and beyond. The Kavrosian delegation, led by Vareth, pushed for a stronger alliance with humanity. The treaty negotiations succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. On the last day, Vareth found Hyunwoo one final time. I have a question, she said. During the endurance challenge, when you could barely walk, why did you keep going? Hyunwoo smiled. Because that is what humans do. We are not the fastest or strongest or smartest species in the galaxy, but we might be the most stubborn. We refuse to give up. Even when we should, we just keep trying. That is your species' greatest gift, Vareth said, and perhaps the galaxy's greatest fortune. We need people who do not give up, who find hope when there should be none, who save their enemies instead of destroying them. She extended one of her 4 hands. Hyunwoo took it. Friends? She asked. Friends, Hyunwoo agreed. As the Kavrosian delegation prepared to depart, Vareth looked back at the station one last time. She had come here believing in the supremacy of strength. She left understanding that strength had many definitions, and humanity had shown her new ones. In the galaxy filled with powerful species, humans had found their place not by being the strongest, but by refusing to ever stop trying, by turning challenges into opportunities, and by having the wisdom to choose compassion over conquest. And that, Vareth realized, was perhaps the most powerful trait of all.